So we are almost at the end of our liturgical year. In the Episcopal Church, the year runs from Advent to Advent. It ends with Christ the King, and next week we will hear from John. In each of our liturgical years, we read a particular gospel. And this year we have been reading from Mark. And Mark is a gospel that is full of passion and intensity, a deep and abiding concern for the marginalized, and not just a tiny bit of this apocalyptic intensity. And so today we end our reading from this brief and intense gospel. It is like birth pangs, says Jesus. All of this wild, unknowable thing that is coming next. Same thing in our reading from Daniel, this idea of the apocalypse, the things that are coming, God upending the world and making all things new. Apocalypse means unveiling. It is something that was not seen becoming seen. A baby is not created when it is born. It is just brought out into the world where the rest of us can see it. And so this gospel today opens with the disciples gawking like New York tourists in awe of how tall a building can be. It says as Jesus is leaving the temple, and what has just happened as he was in the temple, pointing out the faithfulness of the widow throwing in her 2 cents. He has just pointed out how the smallest act of faith is infinitely more impressive than the big things. And seconds later, the disciples are in awe of how big the stones are. Poor Jesus. Again and again, trying to explain to us what God is up to, that this temple is not the point. The big and impressive things are not the point. I mean, this temple is a huge deal. It has been the intersection of God and humanity, the center of the Jewish faith, where the divine intersects with the human, where God's feet rest on earth and humanity and divinity can talk. And so they go over to the Mount of Olives, and from where they are sitting, they can see the temple. And the disciples ask again, how do we know what is coming next? All of these things that you are saying, Jesus, they are big and they are scary, and we don't know what comes next. And Jesus says, be careful. Be careful of that question. Be careful of becoming addicted to knowing what comes next, as opposed to asking how you love well right now. And I wish that it was different enough for us right now for me to wonder at what these disciples were thinking. But it feels as close as yesterday. It feels as close as 5 minutes ago. There, it seems, is an entire genre of news that just kind of feels to me like smart people guessing about things. That the news is often just experts being interviewed about, what do you think comes next? What comes next with the pandemic? What comes next with the climate? What comes next in politics? What will happen next, and how will we know? We want to admire the things that are big and certain. We want to have the things that are impressive and solid, that give us a sense of security. We want an intersection of God and humanity that leaves no room for doubt. And it is not lost on me that one of the big questions of our community right now is, how do we re-enter our building? And we do not re-enter our building because it is impressive or solid. We just come to that place so that we can be close to one another, so that we can keep practicing living in a world that is so full of unknowing. And we may have to remind ourselves again and again that God is bigger than the buildings. And we do all of these things because we are storytelling and meaning-making animals who long to know what is next. What do we do when the stones of our temples start to fall down around us? If our security is found only in the things of this world remaining stable, it is no security at all. And it is also a long practiced human project to try and give theological importance to the violent and heartbreaking events of this world. But Jesus says they have no such importance. Of course they are going to happen, says Jesus. The earthquakes, the wars, the human things that we do as we work out our violence, it will not stop right away, says Jesus. You don't get to know for sure how things end. What you have to do is stay awake. And Jesus spends the rest of this chapter saying, be on your guard, be ready. About the hour and the day, no one knows. Keep watch, stay awake, be on your guard, stay ready. He says it over and over again. You don't know. You don't know what is coming next. You do not know the hour or the day. Not even the angels know, not even Jesus knows. They are sitting there on this Mount of Olives looking toward the temple, the center of their faith, where the divine intersects with the human, but sitting right next to them is the actual fullness of the intersection of God and humanity. And God is in the middle of birthing a new reality. This world is about to turn. And in some ways, the world is always turning, and God is always calling us deeper into love. We are invited to be present with love as whatever is coming next is being born right before us. Be awake, stay ready. You do not know the hour or the day. And if you are invited to be present with someone who is experiencing birth pangs, then it will not be helped by our anxiety. And so we are invited to show up with patience and presence and kindness for this world who will not be helped through her labor by us asking continually, what will come next? How long do you think that this labor will take? We should not ask the world. Stay awake and pay attention. Stroke the forehead of this world as it suffers. Breathe deeply and encourage her to breathe. And be ready above all to care for whatever it is that is being born. Amen.